Hello guys, today we're gonna talk about the movie Island of Lost Souls. Oh boy, this movie. um, I will say this, if the lighting is slightly off in this room, this lamp isn't working, so the last few videos I've done have been a bit off with that, so just so you know I'm aware of that. But anyway, about the movie itself. It's released in 1932. It's an old one. It doesn't have a rating attached to it. No rating attached to it. I will say based on what I watched, I would say it's definitely not a movie for little kids. I think PG to PG-13 is a good range. I'm leaning more toward PG-13 because even though it's not super... Because it's an older movie, so they didn't say or do certain things that would earn those ratings nowadays. There's enough in it, a lot of really weird shit in it that I think PG-13 might be warranted. It's up to you guys. The movie's not long. It's an hour 10. It's 70 minutes. A lot of movies were short back then, so it's a quick watch. It was released on DVD in 2011. That's the best date I could find. I think it really was released on the Criterion Collection. Is probably the best, is the most recent you can find for DVD. And when I did research for that part, it said 2011, so we'll go with that. The movie has 7.5 out of 10 on IMDb with about 7,100-ish user votes. It doesn't have any Metacritic score, though. It stars Charles Laughton, the great Charles Laughton, who did Mutiny on the Bounty. And that reminds me, I need to do the Mutiny on the Bounty movies at some point, because they're awesome. I've seen the first two. I still need to see the third one. It also stars Bela Lugosi. It's kind of a blanket and you miss role. I mean, he's in it enough to be credited, but he's so well covered in makeup and whatnot, you wouldn't guess it was him. And it was directed by Eric C. Kenton, I think that's his name. He directed Ghost of Frankenstein and some other Universal monster movies. Not the famous ones, kind of the group films he did. The movie has 96% on Rotten Tomatoes with 27 critics, so it's not certified fresh. And 81% by audiences, about 100-ish audience people. And the critics' consensus on Rotten Tomatoes is led by a no perfect performance from Charles Laughton. Island of Lost Souls remains the definitive film adaptation of its classic source material. And as for streaming, I haven't done this yet, but there are movies out there who have this. It's not available for streaming, renting, or buying anywhere. You will literally have to buy the DVD. That's right, hard copy. No more. You can't download this shit. But yeah, in terms of DVD availability, you could order it on Amazon or even eBay, but that's about it. You won't find it in any store that sells DVDs unless they have a Criterion Collection. If they have a Criterion Collection, this will be in it. But I will warn you, this will cost quite a bit. It's not cheap. I mean, most of the Criterion movies are expensive, but they're expensive for a reason, because all the movies are great, and they're done in fantastic, and they're remastered, they are given the proper thing and everything. So, if you want to check out some old school films, that's kind of the area to look for. Same thing with this. Online, I would say this movie sells from 19 to 20. I think this movie, when I bought it, was definitely in the $20 range, $20 to $30 range. A lot of movies in the Criterion Collection are like that. Some may even go to $40. There's not many cheaper than that. I know the only store I've been to that sells movies like that is Barnes & Noble's, believe it or not. So if you want to see this movie collection, you gotta go to Barnes & Noble's that has a DVD section, a movie section. But yeah. As for the movie itself, I have to say I do love this movie. Of course I do. If I didn't love this movie, I wouldn't talk about it. These movies I wouldn't talk about them, but this movie I love a lot. First off, I will say that Charles Laughton is probably one of my favorite actors, because he is just, anytime he's on screen, he's a scene stealer. Because I saw him Mutiny on a Bounty and then this one. He's been in other stuff, of course, but those are these two that I come to mind, and I have to say, he just has this presence that just makes you just really get into a movie. There's some actors back then that no matter the time period, they can reach across. You see, some actors are dated. Like, for example, like an actor like Arnold Schwarzenegger was kind of made for the 80s. I mean, him doing his shtick now, it could get varying results. But there's just some actors that are so good that they're kind of timeless. Where you could probably, like, if you time travel and bring people from different spans of time and show them this actor, they could reach all of them. Like, if I show a kid like Charles Laughton performance or Orson Welles, they'll probably dig them. That's the kind of acting this guy is. So the acting's great. Even with no Charles Laughton, the other actors are great too. I will say, it's based on an H.G. Wells novel. I'm a fan of his too, and I love. I haven't read the book, so I don't know how well it adapts from the book. But I will say I love that it's 70 minutes because I feel like it's paced well with that time amount. And let's see, all right, the makeup. This movie is famous for having very great makeup, and they're not exaggerating. The makeup in this movie is fantastic. The makeup they use for the creatures and everything on the island is fantastic. It looks super real. They don't overdo it. They don't go for like the over the top. They kind of make it look. They make them look human, but just off. Like they couldn't possibly anything else in human, but could they? That's the kind of thing it is with that. So great makeup. Atmosphere is fantastic. This movie has a very great atmosphere. In fact, I will say this movie is often credited to be one of the early body horror movies, kind of like the Saw franchise, which is another franchise I could talk about in the future on this vlog show I do here, or whatever, and it really is. And the movie isn't like gory, but they try their damnedest to make you feel the goriness of it, because they talk about stuff. I mean, this movie was banned from fucking everywhere pretty much when it first came out. I mean, the poster for it was even scandalous. I mean, this movie really broke boundaries when it first came out, and it really tested people. In fact, there were people who watched in theaters that threw up. Imagine a movie like this making people throw up. Nowadays people can watch Saw movies and just be like, whatever. If you show like a movie like that back then, people would just like, they would just better cut their eyes off than watch it because it was too frightening. But yeah, this movie's just, what's great about this movie is that it is a boundary pusher. And even watching it now, even though I will probably say that it probably had a bigger impact back then, even watching it now, I will admit that there were a few scenes where I was just like, it does, and a lot of that has to do with the acting and the makeup and the way it's framed, the way the camera moves. The cinematography makes this movie really creepy, and the score does too. The score, there's not really much of a score though either. It's what really works in the movie really is just the natural silences and the grunts, the growls, and the screams. It's a very good movie. I will say, like they said, there were a couple remakes of this movie later on in the 70s and the 90s. Don't watch them. They do have some a good, decent cast of actors in both movies, but don't watch them. They're awful. Of course, I haven't seen them, but that's what they said, and I did some digging, and a lot of people say they're awful. So if you're going to watch any of them, just watch this one. Even if it is expensive, even if it is harder to find, it's better to dig and spend on a great movie than to just settle for some lame ass shit just to save a couple bucks, just to save some money. It's because it's easier even. But yeah, I talked about this movie a lot. This quite a bit. I don't know what else I could say about it. I definitely love this movie because, other than what I mentioned previously here, probably because it's just that it just feels shocking to me. It feels like a timeless movie, really. Like you could probably show this across timelines, and sure, some people may react differently than others to it. Like people nowadays may not be as grossed out by it than people back then, but I feel like nowadays people could still get invested in this movie and how. And there are some messages about the overuse of science and how it affects people's characters, make them godlike, and that kind of spiel. But the way they do it in this movie feels very, very creepy and scary and intimidating, and that's what I love about it. But yeah, I love this movie. Find it if you can. Don't be afraid to spend a little money on these movies, because these movies, they're in a Criterion Collection for a reason. It's not an easy fleet. It's because they are important, and not only important, but they're good. They're so good movies. And you gotta check it out. It's a great movie. And yeah, thanks for watching. Please subscribe and like the videos, and have a good day.